Welcome everyone, Christine here with a discussion about Warcraft re-reforged 2.0. So Blizzard, to the surprise of a lot of people, has decided to make a remastered version for Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, and also improve Reforged at the same time. Now it's worth saying if you already own Reforged, you're just gonna have access to this. You don't need to pay extra. You only pay extra if you want to get Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. Since I already had Reforged, I got access to it. I did purchase Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. Now, what I suspect they did for Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2 is they had a UI team, they had people working on the engine, they had people on unit control and all those things. Like the way you control your units and armies and buildings and etc. in Warcraft 1 in particular is significantly improved compared to where it was before. Because Warcraft 1 was not really good in terms of its control. Like, I grew up playing Warcraft 1 and I gotta say, that game was very, very outdated. But now you do have better control methods compared to where it was before. By a significant amount. They also run better. Whether or not it's worth the price, I'll leave that up to you. But if you're interested in replaying Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2, it is probably a good deal. And better than the GOG versions, the very old versions. Because, yeah, Warcraft 1, the old version, is not in a great situation. Then, what I suspect they did is they used AI image scaling. They took all the textures, all the models in those games, in those two games, and in Warcraft 3, like the old models, and they put them through AI image scaling, so to increase the resolution. Now, as someone who uses this, largely for my thumbnails, I can tell you it's a great piece of technology. And keep in mind, what I use is available for free out there. I'm sure Blizzard probably used something better than that. And yeah, it is a fairly good job. Like, the models are still the same models. The textures are still the same textures. They're just been scaled up with AI to make them HD or Ultra HD, like 4K textures. And that is fantastic. I'm sure some people are gonna bitch and moan about the AI aspect about it, but AI can do a lot of good things. Welcome to the future. It is glorious. But with regards to Reforged, they did quite a bit more. Reforged had several issues. It still has several issues, so I'm not gonna say this is perfect or even great. It is not. But there are some quality of life changes that do make the experience better. One of the issues of Reforged is that the main menu over here was awful. And it also had really bad performance. That has been improved. At least on my computer, I do think it runs better. But, you know, I have a really powerful computer, so I can't really speak for a lot of people. But I do play, like, custom games in multiplayer. And I can tell you the performance that we've gotten since the patch does seem better. Probably need to play more to have a definitive conclusion on that subject, but from what I have played, it does seem a better performance. Because that's one of the problems that Reforged had, is that the actual performance of the game not only did not look that great in a lot of ways, but it also ran horribly. So it does seem the performance of the game has been increased. We also got more options over here in video, in terms of video options, if we're talking about the game. Not necessarily in terms of sound options, but there's improvements over here in terms of the choices we do have. It is a bit of a shame that it reset my keybinds, because I use the grid keybinds. It reset them to classic, so I had to change that. But still, we do get a new tab over here, which lets you pick what you're going to use from Reforged if you do own it. So if you have classic Warcraft 3, you're still going to get that. And keep in mind, they've, again, used AI scaling to make the textures and the models Ultra HD. So they're higher quality in terms of their resolution, but they're still the same models that we had before, just higher resolution. That is the difference. As well as a bunch of other graphical changes. They've also changed the multiplayer UI by quite a significant amount over here. So there are certainly things that are to be appreciated with respect to this. That said, if there is a particular downside is, for instance, I played Legion Tower Defense. In the previous version, I could just type Legion, and it would show me all the Legion Tower Defense games that are available. But because it was sorting it based on map name. Now, you have to type in, the game name. So it's filtering just based on game name, not the map name. So that is something of a downside over here, because it just means people creating custom games are going to have to rename things different, or, you can just, put PR and you're probably going to get the majority of Legion Tower Defense games, or PH, the two main modes that people play with Legion Tower Defense is just an example. But between the extra performance that we get and the better UI that we get for here, it may help revitalize the multiplayer community, because Reforged, like the multiplayer community of Warcraft 3 was already in a not so great spot before Reforged came out, and Reforged more or less killed it. Outside of a couple of things, it really took a sledgehammer to it. Like, there's a reason why things like Warcraft 3 Champions became a thing, because people really detested it. Also, yeah, things like custom campaigns or a better campaign menu, though unfortunately all my progress, because I did do everything, all my progress over here for these campaigns was lost. And I have saves on my hard drive, but I can't load them because apparently they've made some changes to the maps. In particular, I imagine there's some terrain changes, but it's not just terrain changes. There's also just small bits and pieces, but that means that it's a different map file, so you can't load your existing save, so you have to do it. I wish we could just even if we don't unlock every map, I wish we could have access to every campaign. That would be, that would be great to have those kind of things available from the beginning, right? We can pick and choose which campaigns we're going to play. But still, there's a lot, the Reforged models still aren't great, and there's a lot of other things that aren't great as well. But skipping the cinematic, for instance, you can either enable or disable the portraits of characters when they're speaking. So through the UI HUD, you can show portraits in cinematics if you want. You can show your APM, you can show FPS, you can show how many workers you have on gold mine, numbers for cooldown. So there's a lot of really useful things. Someone made the point they just basically listen to what Grubby
sounds
saying.
Interesting.
So now you can decide, okay, let's say we want the new environmental textures because they are better.
The light is my strength.
But we hate the new models for units and all that.
How may I serve?
Is there danger?
We can keep the new environmental textures and the models for those.
I can help.
While also keeping the original but higher resolution textures for. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I say higher resolution textures, I mean it's still the same old models, just higher
Justice shall be done.
On-set models. So
I stand for the light.
Yeah, the performance here
What's
is
the plan?
much better.
Justice
When Reforged came out,
of course,
so many of these maps
honor.
ran
a
horribly,
plan.
Genuinely
For honor.
horribly.
Of
in
course.
a lot of ways. Let me just load. I see dead people over here to take a look at the map. So it does seem like a lot of these things have been improved. Performance has been improved. The model situation has been improved. If there is any particular downside with this, is that from my experience is
I
yes.
stand for the light.
I'm trying to think
The models,
What is your
like
wish?
when you're disabling models,
Yes,
I am ready.
or the
I'll
reforged
do my
models for
best.
campaign missions, for vanilla missions, that works well. But if I load, say, a custom campaign and I try and play for that, or a custom map, some things may not work as intended. I might get reforged models where I'm not expecting to get reforged models, just as as a. It's just struggling opening that folder for whatever reason. Let's see, which map do I want to load? Let's go with this one. So, Yeah, the re-reforged campaign. I wonder if they took any inspiration from that. So not everything is perfect, but I do wonder if they took some inspiration from like the re-reforged. So I did get a crash when I tried to load up either the re-reforged campaign or the Warcraft 2 campaign in Warcraft re-reforged, the custom campaigns. Well, I got the crash with the re-reforged version. I got some significant model issues with regards to the Tides of Darkness campaign. So I suspect map makers are going to have to update their maps in order for everything to work properly. It may just be a case of like, loading a map in an editor in some cases and just saving it again and putting it out there in order for things to work properly. In other cases, some changes may need to be made with like models and paths, etc., in order for things to work properly. That is the downside. That did break a lot of custom maps, especially ones that are using a lot of custom models, but even ones that aren't using custom models do seem to have certain issues with respect to this, so keep that aspect in mind. That is going to be a downside initially, but maps that are currently being worked on and are actually being played are going to be updated, assuming that they don't end up failing in the editor, assuming that they can load them up in the editor. Hopefully that isn't a problem. But in a lot of ways, what we got right now with Reforged is maybe what we should have gotten initially. Again, it's not perfect, but it is a damn sight better than the misery that we got with Reforged for so long in terms of performance, in terms of missing features, etc., etc. And this is one of the things I had hoped for when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard, because Microsoft has invested significant resources with respect to strategy games, like Age of Empires, Age of Mythology, etc. And they've done a good job. So maybe it's the influence of that. I don't know. Maybe it's just Blizzard deciding, okay, it's been 30 years since Warcraft came out. Let's do this because we can. And with AI technology, it's maybe not that difficult. I imagine they had a number of people working on UI and performance aspects, to be sure. But hey, it's a welcome, a surprise, but a welcome one. A very welcome one. I'm quite happy about it. Again, could be better, could be a lot better, but it is a step in the right direction. Hopefully there will be more steps in the right direction, and hopefully older maps aren't completely broken, which might be the case. To be fair, Reforged already did that, so worth pointing that out. Cosine, signing out.